Is it gonna happen? Come on. Okay. I think we're streaming.
Oh,
Nothing's no. Yes, yes, we're streaming. All right, good. Amazing. Okay, now I need to get my brain into gear. What am I going to do now? Oh, where's my screen gone? So funny. Discord chat. Oh, because I'm not on that. That's better. All right. Good. Hi, everyone. Hope you're okay. This is the beginning of our 5th BAT meeting. I'd like to say it's going to be the best, but I can say it's going to be the most off the cuff. This is. Oh no, that's not. This is what we have got to chat about today. The Astrobiscuit website, variable Nebula update, and I'm just having a look. Is Alex here? Is our variable Nebula mod here?
okay.
Oh, awesome. Brilliant. Are you ready to chat a little bit, Alex? Is that good? In a bit? Yeah. I think that's a yes. We might need to sort your sound out. BAT mod report. So basically anything the BAT mods have got to say, and then anything anyone else has got to say about anything at all. Alrighty. All right, let's kick off. So this week I have been mostly spending every blooming day, even the weekend, trying to get my website better, and it just takes so long. Anyway, here it is. So one of the pages that I did was this. Hopefully I can take you through it. It's the, if I can find it on my computer, it's the Big Amateur Telescope website. It's not actually the Big Amateur Telescope website. It's just a bit of my website where hopefully we'll tell people a little bit about the Big Amateur Telescope, what we're about. There's a link there to the previous BAT meetings. There's some of our results here. And yeah, there's a nice one, isn't it? I might as well mention this one now. What a gorgeous rendering of M16 that was. And we're beginning to get into what I called NGC 7 something or other, but it is in fact NGC 891, which I think is going to be fantastic. So anyway, I'm just going to continue with the website. There's a little window into our current BAT target, so people who aren't a member can see what our targets are, and you can actually scroll down and up. So it's actually a window into Discord, which I think is quite cool. There's some more information that we might find useful about what we say there. Oh, none of my affiliate links work. Awesome. There's just some more stuff showing people what to expect in the BAT exam. There's actually a window into the BAT exam so people can get an idea of the kind of standard that they need to get in. But not just that. There is Lucky Imaging Theory. So if it's ever going to load, come on. Try that button instead. Come on. Doesn't want to load. What's going on? I wonder if I'm just using up all the bandwidth that I've got by streaming. Oh, come on. No. There. All right, well, there's oh no. All right. Can anyone... Hello. Can anyone hear me? Am I back?
Hello.
Yep.
Hey. Okay. Did I cut out then quite badly?
Only on Discord. YouTube's still working fine.
Yeah, the stream just stopped at some point, and I thought it was me, but it wasn't.
Okay, and what did I say? Did I talk about the website? And then it...
Yes,
All right,
you
and
talked
You
about the
just started
website.
talking about it.
I was just about, I hope, to get onto Lucky Imaging Theory. Was that right? Did you hear anything about that?
No.
All right, well, let's just carry on with the website quickly. Come on. Okay, so basically there's on my website there's like a few different pages. One of them is Lucky Imaging Theory, right? I thought it might be useful for you guys because it's collated some of the information that we've been getting from you good people. So things like, oh, by the way, someone's got their mic on a bit loud and I can hear other stuff going on. You might want to mute yourself.
Your mic is on.
Ewan. Okay, there we go. So there's things like best camera settings for Lucky Imaging, exposure length, best percentage of subs to stack. This is Mr. Crazy Physicist, who I believe is with us today, did that, which is brilliant. There's various graphs and things from various clever people. There's the best wavelengths to shoot at. So a whole bunch of stuff. And there's a whole section on variable nebula, which we're going to talk about momentarily. And before we talk about variable nebula, I just want to mention one other shot that someone did. I really haven't had enough time to go through the shots that people have done. But look, here's a really great shot, I think from Joel, of NGC 891. This target is coming, it is going to be great. So thank you for that, Joel. Right. So that's me talking about the website. Please check it out. Also, there are links. If you want to buy stuff, please use my links so that I can get a commission. Oh, and there's another page on the website which talks about the best telescopes and the best cameras for Lucky Imaging as well. So that I know that might be useful for some people. All right. So I've been submerged in that. I have not done a lot of bat work, but I wanted this week to talk about variable nebula because I see that things are beginning to happen. People are beginning to take pictures of Hubble's variable nebula. So Alex, are you able to tell us where we're at with variable nebula?
Yep, can you guys hear me all right?
Ooh, can I see you? Are you streaming?
No? Can
No,
you guys hear me
okay.
at all?
Oh, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you good. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so some people have started to do some imaging and testing of it. I know that Hatmandu has been trying to get some alignment with the reference images. And it's starting to become imageable now. It's still pretty late in the night, or just before dawn, but it's starting to get a little higher up so we can begin to get some time on it.
Awesome. And do we have any kind of... Oh, just while we're talking, I think I'm just going to pop it onto this shot that I did. I did of it in with the telescope live. You can just see the ripples there. Do we have any kind of sort of plan for how we're going to organise people kind of shooting it with this sort of desire to get 2 images a week? Do we have anything like some kind of diary or anything like that, which people can fill out if they think they might be able to get it or something like?
Not yet. That's something that I need to get going this week. And I figured we can get people to sign up for specific days. And on the Google Drive where we're keeping the data, we can just have a folder for images by wavelength and just ensure that they're named by date so we can sort them. So later on, we can actually start to make an animation of it.
Cool. All right, great. And anything else to report on the variable nebula? Have I frozen, by the way, right now?
Yeah.
Your webcam is frozen, but the stream is still working.
Ay, ay, ay. Come on. Come on. All right, well, ignoring the fact that I've frozen for a minute. Okay, well, I mean, this is as where we're at with today. Any other of the BAT mods got anything that they want to talk about before we
Hatman
go on.
Dude just said that maybe the scheduling for the variable nebula should be lightweight, and I agree. Like it shouldn't be like a stringent schedule of you have to get an image on this date. More like sign up and say like I'm going to shoot for this date. Obviously, weather will determine if you can or not. But it probably wouldn't hurt to have multiple people overlapping on dates. And the image that we would end up using, we would just use the best of what we get for the time.
Yes.
And for, we're limited by weather, so if we have a couple people all trying, we'll have better shots at getting a continuous animation.
I think what might be really useful is if when we get up and running, it's kind of really important to try and hit those 2 shots per week. And I bet we'll have a couple of people, well, hopefully, who are really going to help out with this. But it's entirely possible that they'll get clouded out, and it would be really useful to have quite a big, quick sort of feedback, so that I can shout out to everyone in the group, and see if anyone can get the nebula. You sort of know. I think you sort of know within about 3 days as to whether you're likely to be clouded out or not. So if it's possible, if we kind of know who's sort of down to do it, and through no fault of their own, if they can't do it, then maybe. Oh, am I still streaming? Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you.
My computer's just going really terrible at the moment. I know what it is. I suspect one of my families pulled out the Ethernet cable. All right, so I'm on Wi-Fi. So if we could get that feedback thing sorted out, that would be awesome. And yeah, my screen's just completely frozen, I'm afraid. So if you can still hear me, great. Let's just move on to if anyone has anything to say about anything at all.
Yeah, this is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So there was a bunch of threads about different ways of doing registration and star alignment. And I didn't actually follow the whole thread. So was there a conclusion out of there for kind of recommended ways to register for? Not the variable nebula. That was just a weird thing that I had. But for the other stuff, was there a conclusion that we came from that?
Right, so as I remember it from last week's BAT meeting, I requested that we had a reference image that was larger, essentially, that was between 1/2 and 1/4 of an arc second per pixel big. I don't know if your question is to do with that. I know people have, and I included, had trouble registering, and I found in PixInsight at least, if I manually cropped my stack down to very roughly, although obviously a bit bigger than the reference frame, then PixInsight did a much better job of registering it. So star aligning it. So which one of those things was it, Mr. Hatman? Was it the difficulty in registering? Yeah, go on.
No, I saw that there was somebody that had a mosaic of like using 7 different settings, and I thought that there was some kind of conclusion as to which one was going to be the best. I didn't follow the thread, so maybe if no one has that context or that doesn't jog anyone's memory, then maybe I just go back and read the manual.
Okay, anyone want to pipe in? Because I didn't get a chance to read it this week.
So I think we did a bit of a test on what sort of algorithm you would use for the interpolation. We found that if you use a very high resolution reference, you end up having to interpolate the source images that were at a much lower resolution, and that basically generated halos. And I can't remember the name.
So
And basically he just went through all of the different interpolation algorithms for within PixInsight. I think it was SkillSpark, and I think he just sort of ended up with a Lankos 3, I think, or one of the Lankos version of interpolation, which would be the better ones, which just turned out to be, I think the default one that PixInsight uses, I believe. I think that's the thrust of it in the end. Yeah, but essentially the resolution is that, I think we probably want a mix of thick and thin paintbrush, and might be, when we come down to it, when we combine everything, we might register the sort of lower resolution stuff with the smaller reference, and then the higher resolution stuff with the higher detail reference image. So it's still been looked at, and I think SkillSpark maybe can contribute.
So at the moment we're at 1/4 of an arc second per pixel, is that right?
So we have one reference image at 1/4 of arc second at the minute. So that was generated and just put out there for people to test, and so we can generate the other ones, provided everyone's happy. Yeah.
I think it sounds like it's just too far off what some of the scopes are getting, and I wonder whether we should just go for half, sort of happy medium, go for half an arc second per pixel.
Can I say something about this? I was editing some of these images, and I already found, like, I'm not sure what the current pixel scale was for the images, but I found it quite challenging to work with the extreme high numbers, especially if you go into the denoising. It felt differently to what it would be if the pixel scale is normal, because the noise values, when they're usually like per pixel, they were like now interpolated and changed further. They were kind of smoothed already, and it made denoise definitely different. I don't know if it made it harder, but it definitely it didn't look as good as if it was like, that's just me. I don't know if this is for everyone the case, but I didn't like it having it way extreme, because in the end scopes weren't sharp enough anyway. I think at least for the thick paintbrush, in my opinion, it makes no sense to make such a small pixel scale when in the end there's no detail anyway. And they had a lot of problems with the halos and stuff.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Are we going to do a thick paintbrush and a thin paintbrush, or are we just going to go? Are we going to try half an arc second, happy medium, and see if that's okay?
We can try one, yeah. I'm happy to generate one, and then SkillSparks and the people who are good at this stuff might want to try it. Definitely, yeah.
Awesome. So I think let's do half an arc second. If that fails, and thank you, Maria, by the way, it's awesome you're doing this. If that fails, then we'll have to go for 2 different reference frames, which is just a little bit more of a pain in the bum at some level for people. But maybe that's what we've got to do. Yeah.
I think it actually plays. I think it might be better, right? Because at some point you're going to combine everything together, and you're going to make a choice between stacking everything that's sort of that thick paintbrush and stacking everything that's the thin paintbrush, and then combining them. So
I would also imagine that the Lucky data, you're just gonna process that completely separately to the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's you're both saying the same.
It doesn't matter if the pixel scale is different. It doesn't matter, because you can resample that at the very end when you combine the two.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I agree and understand, and with what both of you are saying. Just that if it's just another step of complication, that's the only thing. It's a little bit more. If it worked at half an arc second per pixel, then you wouldn't necessarily have to have that extra level.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's carry on discussing this, but thank you everyone for working on that, and very good points. I I see Mr. Crazy Physicist is here. Mr. Crazy Physicist, are you able to talk at all? Because you've done some amazing things looking at Lucky Imaging. I know. You're muted at the moment. You might have gone off. No. Okay. So anyone else want to talk about anything at the moment? Bring any issues up?
Well, as I already mentioned, I was editing the images today. I was editing NGC 7331. Mainly, I just wanted to see where we're standing with the data. And
Yeah.
I think we're just needing more of everything. Like, especially, I have not had the time today to look at the Lucky data, but I looked at RGB data for NGC 7331. Yes, this is the image. And I think for RGB, we need more. The background was quite noisy. I didn't use the one-shot color data. I used the LRGB data, but
Yeah.
I think we might need a little bit more on that. And probably, definitely, I assume we need more for the Lucky Imaging. Even if some people already did Lucky Imaging, I'm pretty confident that it's not enough to get like a really sharp image, because I'm just following like the threads everywhere, and everyone is saying that you need a lot of data to make a sharp image, and that you can only use like very small percentages. So
yes, it's true. It's true. Very good. So more data on NGC 7331, if you're able to, guys. If you go on the website, then you'll see Mr. Crazy Physicist. In fact, I'll just see if I can get it up now. Just in terms of talking about how much data we need for Lucky Imaging. If I can get my stuff, if I can make it work. There's no guarantee.
I just plugged in my microphone, so perhaps I can comment on that also.
Oh yeah, excellent. So Mr. Crazy Physicist, thank you for coming along. This is my website. You will see here, you did this amazing set of pictures, which shows how noisy Lucky Imaging gets. It also shows how it reduces. If we can just forget for a moment about the increase of noise, but let me just start again from the beginning. So exposure length is obviously important, and there's a graph here that shows you how much better your full width half maximum is going to get as your exposure length decreases. Also very, very important is how many frames you throw away, what percentage, and it seems like something about 10%. Leaving just 10% is quite a good thing to aim for. Now, Mr. Crazy Physicist has done this incredible shot here, where he's taken a stack of all his shots and then 50%, and then I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yes, you can. 50%, 25%, 5%, 1%. 0.1, and as he reduces the percentage of subs that he's stacking, the full width half maximum decreases, which is fantastic, as shown in the graph above. But also, obviously, the noise gets much, much bigger. So we're going to need a lot of people doing Lucky Imaging if we really want to make this work. And there's other levels of complication as well. But anyway, Mr. Crazy Physicist, do tell us what you've been finding out.
Yeah, actually, this very noisy frame there at the bottom is only one sub. So this is a 1 second sub. So this is the best, actually.
Yeah.
And the FWHM value is a little bit skewed to larger values. So I have estimated it for a smaller, fainter star field, and then it is going really down to 0.6 arc seconds.
Wow.
Which is the sampling limit of the setup, I think.
Wow.
And we get really an FWHM decrease by 58% or something. But that's only the best image that I really can get.
Yeah.
So if you want to get that resolution, you have to capture data for 144 days or something like that, and then only take 0.02% of the data. So
yes, and whereabouts?
I think 1 arc second or 1.5 arc seconds are more realistic, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Whereabouts are you shooting from? So really, I'm sort of asking about the seeing, I guess.
Yeah, that was really lucky seeing. So the seeing was really good. That was from northern Germany, and perfect seeing almost. So you can see, even if I stack 100%, it's 1.43 arc seconds. So
right, and you've got a C14.
If the target is 1.5 arc seconds, I can submit all the subs, no problem.
Yeah, that's so. You made a very good point. So what we're going to need to do when we start looking at Lucky Imaging is we're going to obviously people are going to be shooting from all around the world. Some people will have more. Some people, the atmosphere will be more wobbly than others, right? And it just depends on luck. And I think somewhere here, I'm just going up and down a bit because there's something. Oh yeah, here are some graphs that show you. The full width half maximum you can get in various seeing conditions, and also the number of frames that you select. Essentially, with the seeing at 1 arc second, which is very good actually, so this must have been done at some observatory, your full width half maximum is, I don't know, 1.75 if you stack all of the subs. If you stack 10% of the subs, it's not the full width half maximum, the improvement factor. Anyway, have a look at the graph. You'll see you get a much better improvement when you stack just like 10% of the subs. But it all depends on where you start out. So if someone starts out with worse seeing and their telescope is just as good as Mr. Crazy Physicist, then they're only going to be able to stack a smaller percentage of their subs to hit the threshold. And I think Mr. Crazy Physicist suggested 1.5 arc seconds. Did you suggest as our sort of full width half maximum?
Well, it depends on what's actually the average of the telescopes, I would say.
And it depends how many telescopes we have as well, shooting and all the rest of it. Yeah. So it could change if we roughly ballpark, say 1.5 arc seconds is something to aim for. Maybe we can get feedback from people who are Lucky Imaging, and they can let us know whether that's a reasonable percentage and how many percentage of their stars they're getting with a full width half maximum of about 1.5 arc seconds or less. And then we can adjust accordingly.
I mean, we can always stack a certain amount of frames. That's no problem in auto stacker. So 0.1%, 1%, 5%, and then estimate the FWHM.
What's really exciting for me is the fact that it does work. So if, like, we haven't had a lot of people joining the BAT, not that many recently. It goes in spurts when I do a video or when we release and share a picture, an image, right? We get a whole wave of people coming and joining. Now I'm not being able to do a video, but before Christmas, we're going to have some videos and we're going to have a lot more people joining. And if I do a big video, then we can have a lot more people joining. So what's really exciting is that even though the noise is horrific when you go for these shorter numbers of subs to stack, you really can improve on the full width half maximum, and possibly with a wind behind us and a good video going out that I do, we will get hundreds of people able to help out. I know I don't know how many Lucky Images we've got at the moment. Maybe 20 or 30, something like that. I don't know. Actually, is it less than that? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Anyway, it's what we're doing here is fantastic, I think, and I'm really looking forward to, especially getting NGC 891. We're already getting some great data coming on that. Anything else that you wanted to mention, Mr. Crazy Physicist?
No, I think we only have to reach a certain amount of stack size in order to sharpen the image, and then you will see the detail. So of course you cannot sharpen the noisy images, but about 50%. I think in the last meeting you showed this comparison with the Subaru telescope or something like that. And there I stacked 2,500 1 second subs. And then I could really apply sharpening. So classical sharpening routines, deconvolution, stuff like that. So that is, I think, really the minimum I also tried 25%, but then I'm basically only sharpening the noise. So that should be maybe the target.
It's hard to say an exact number of subs, though, is it not? Due to people having different telescopes.
Yeah, it depends really on the setups, and then you mix setups. Yeah, that's right. But for this specific setup, that was about the
What's interesting is we can once people get the data, as long as everyone stays in the loop, we can work out the happy medium between number of subs, which obviously the more we have, the less noise we have, and the sharpness, which obviously the fewer subs we stack, the sharper we are. We can find that we can actually play around a little bit until we get it sorted. All right, brilliant. Well done, sir. That's really cool. Thank you for all your work. It's absolutely fantastic.
No problem. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Any more for any more?
Yeah. Just talking about this picture here, I just wanted to talk about the what you're really trading is depth for sharpness, and it's really about a trade with respect to how much data you have that you can throw away. You could see, for example, the 25% stack size here. You can see the edges of the galaxy, whereas you go down, you throw away a lot more data, and then you lose that. So that's why the magnitude of data that you have drives how much rejection you can tolerate. If you're okay with throwing that away, and
absolutely, yeah. And also, of course, I'm a big advocate of really using our broad brushstroke. I mean, Lucky Imaging is essentially really crap at getting the faint bits. I mean, it is. So if we can do as much as we can with the Lucky Imaging, but then with the really faint stuff, we use our broad brushstroke, then I think the final image, like an HDR image, if you like, is going to be fantastic. Does anyone know, out of interest, what Hubble's resolution is? I think its theoretical resolution is like crazy small, 0.1 arc second or something. Does anyone know what its actual resolution is, considering it cocks up a little bit with its mirrors and what have you? Anyway,
it's something like 50 milliarc seconds per pixel. It's under 100 milliarc seconds.
So it's pretty good then.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
I think reading some of the papers on Lucky Imaging, the observatories, the earthbound ones, were targeting more like 0.1 arc seconds. For their top 1%.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, with Mr. Crazy Physicist getting 0.6 on one of his subs, that's quite interesting, isn't it? I know that Kit Peaks, the observatory up at Kit Peak, is nowhere near that, but it's a wider field scope. Actually quite similar to us in terms of field of view, and you can't do adaptive optics with such a wide field scope. So I'd be surprised if the non-adaptive optics scopes were doing 0.1. Are they? Do you think? I wouldn't imagine they were. Anyway, I'll leave that one hanging. Any more for any more? Oh, I know. Actually, Nick Halusin, you just reminded me. I think that there's this graph here, which is apparent altitude in degrees. I don't know how useful this graph is. It's talking about atmospheric dispersion, right? So, and it doesn't say what the wavelengths are, but atmospheric dispersion is where the red, green and blue light wavelengths, light gets separated as it comes through the atmosphere at an angle. I don't know how important that is for us using our mono cameras, as most of us Lucky Imagers are. But I know that with planetary, the dispersion in the blue channel is quite large when you're shooting at an angle, even with shooting with a mono camera. So I think, I just wanted to say, Nick, the reason you reminded me of it is all your good work finding out which targets are going directly above us. I think that is going to be another critical factor in making the images we get as sharp as possible. I think it is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think what that means, and I totally agree, and this chart just confirms that further. What that means for our members, though, is when you plan your imaging sessions, make an effort. If you're specifically doing Lucky Imaging in particular, try to do it such that the target is at zenith. I think that's the key takeaway. As close to it as possible.
I actually found, and I'm just posting a link to the website on the bat chat. I actually found that when I did my test, I basically what was I shooting? M27. I basically threw away all the subs. I had a 2-hour window when it was right above me, and all the subs after it passing right above me, as it started to get lower, and it wasn't even getting that low. I don't know, 70 degrees or something. I just had to throw them away. They weren't nearly as sharp as directly above us. So I think we're going to find that us lucky imagers are going to really have quite a small window in which to shoot when it's right above us.
Yeah, that also means people should get their meridian flips sorted out, and maybe even, I need to probably tune this myself, expand the bounds by which a meridian flip occurs, because you can set up your shot and then shoot as it passes through the straight zenith. It's just something to think about.
Absolutely. And one other thing, I think I've shown you this before. This is just a test that I did with Jupiter, right? And I mentioned this the other week. So as the wavelengths get longer, they're less and less affected by the atmosphere, and IR actually is considerably sharper than even the red channel actually. And I'm thinking of building the ultimate telescope, right? So it's going to be a Newtonian, of course, because I'm into Newtonians. And I went to Gerd Newman's website because I was looking for a sort of cardboard tube, right? Which is like what my Red Devil has got. It's like a cardboard tube. I quite like it. And I noticed that he had been doing Lucky Imaging in infrared. I'm going to reach out to him and see if he's there, but it might be that we might be able to get as sharp, or, well, I don't know, but using infrared with longer exposures. It's just something to think about. I don't know. Okay. Any more for any more?
I think Nick Holland actually did some infrared on NGC 7331. I didn't have the time to check it out though, because it was not in the download folder, it was in the upload, and I didn't check that until later, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's still in the upload folder. I haven't been able to shift it over to the download folder yet.
Okay, well that would be interesting. And I've frozen. All right. So looks like we might be nearly done. Anyone else got anything that they want to talk about?
If you could scroll up on your Discord just a few posts. I posted an image talking about Lucky Imaging just a little bit.
Okay.
I see it's just 2 posts above, or 3 posts above Alex's. Yeah, right there. Just an interesting finding for my Lucky Imaging stuff. Yeah, that's it right there. Basically, the key finding was optimizing the sub length for me to do Lucky Imaging. I have a slower telescope than most, or rather, it's an SET, so I'm at 1525 focal length, 6.5. So I'm not particularly fast. Of course, for Lucky, we want it as fast as possible. So I tried half a second and I tried 1 second. And what I found, and this is specifically for auto stacker registration, is that 1 second seems to be markedly better than shooting half-second subs, because it can more easily recognize the stars to do the alignment. So you can see on the right, it's a little bit blurrier. It was struggling to register stars and therefore stack my images. So that's the key takeaway is for my setup, 1 second was appropriate. While I could shoot half, it just won't register. It won't stack well.
Have you finished? because I've just managed to get it centered in the frame. It took that long to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk the numbers a little bit more. So,
no, you don't
let's
have
see
to,
here.
mate. It's fine. I was just
Sure.
okay.
So
that's
yeah.
really interesting about registration. So something else that I wanted to get. I mentioned it before. I just haven't had a chance. But is that chap who wrote AutoStacker? I was really interested in how that would work for deep space stacking, and whether I think the AutoStacker looks at just in terms of registration. I know it's slightly different to what you're talking about. It's a similar topic though. Is the idea that you get your frame can move around, can't it, with the wobble in the atmosphere, and stars can be perhaps an arc second left or right depending on the frame, depending on the wobble of the atmosphere. So I was curious to know whether AutoStacker, with its ability to stack frames in, to stack in particular areas rather than the whole frame globally, might be something that might help us.
I have interesting findings on that. You can do it, but it doesn't perform perfectly in tough situations, which is what I was doing here when I was really going down to half a second, because there's just not a lot of data for it to work with.
Were you using AutoStacker with this?
Yes.
Ah.
So my finding was, the key finding was, don't dither while doing your Lucky Imaging. What I just took 100 gigabyte data set yesterday, so I will get the results as soon as I find out. But the takeaway is, don't take maybe 1,000 frames or 5 minutes, and then dither, and then stop your recording, and then resume after the dithering is done. Because AutoStacker didn't handle it well, even using PIPP to pre-register. While it did help, it did noticeably help. Don't dither while you capture.
So why do you stack with AutoStacker as opposed to a more traditional deep space stacking software?
Excellent question. So I'll try to keep this brief. The key takeaway is because of the image capture time. So if I used Nina, which I did try, you can and it works. It's but the data transfer time and the header of each individual image adds processing time, which means that you're not taking pictures. So that's why I'm trying to force this to work with fire capture, so you can continuously capture data as opposed to take a picture, write it to file, take a picture, write it to file, which
Sorry, I meant why is the software that you're using to stack AutoStacker? Is it because you're using fire capture and it just works well with AutoStacker?
Well, it's also because of region of interest. So
is that working with it? Does it work?
Yes. Yeah, these are images from that whole process using fire capture, PIP, and AutoStacker, and
using
with region of interest.
How interesting! And are you able to determine whether? So you've done exactly what I was umming and ahhing about. You've done it. Does it stack better than AutoStacker using region of interest than, say, Astropixel processor or Deep Sky Stacker even, or PixInsight?
I don't have A/B tests, so I can't say. I'm merely using this data pipeline because I can use region of interest, which is not an option for some of the other capture processes. I can't speak to Astropixel processor because I don't have it.
Yeah.
You can use PIP and split a video file out to fit files, and you can have it do ROI and everything, and then you just have a bunch of fits that you can use in PixInsight to align.
This is probably not the same kind of region of interest as you said, but you can do kind of a region of interest in PixInsight, but it would crop everything out, so you're gonna only be stacking the region of interest.
So I don't think we're exactly talking about region of interest, are we? With this AutoStacker, it has the ability to separate the frame. When you use AutoStacker, you manually or automatically put a whole bunch of squares. It's a bit like sort of like a grid on what you're stacking, and I believe that the autostacker looks just in that small area of all and lines up all the pixels in all the subs in just that small area, I think.
That's correct.
It doesn't really work well on stars though. It's meant for surfaces like planets and stuff. So it looks for edges and contrast. It doesn't look for star positions. So like you're not necessarily really aligning to the stars.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I also tried that, and you cannot really place the alignment points on overexposed stars. So you have to use underexposed stars, or correctly exposed stars, let's say. And if you don't do that, the alignment will not work really well, actually.
I mentioned PIP can split because it seems like if you're using Firecapture, you get a video, a .ser, and like PixInsight doesn't know what to do with that, but PIP can split it out into a fit, into individual frames. You can extract the frames into FITS files because they're raw frames anyway. So
yeah, that would let you stack with different metrics, and it'd be interesting to figure out what this quality metric is that's in AutoStacker, and if that gives us a performance advantage between AutoStacker versus PIP, or not PIP, PixInsight.
Okay, I'm going to ask the guy who wrote AutoStacker if he's available next week, and we can ask him, because I was in touch with him, and we've just I think we've just both been very busy, so not caught up again with each other. But I think that would be an interesting thing to do.
Sorry for the long discussion. It's very interesting to me anyway.
No, well, it's interesting to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, you have a good point about like using a traditional imaging software has a lot of overhead because, you're shooting an image for minutes. You're not trying to get thousands of 1 second images. So like shooting video, you have to treat it like planetary almost, but then the processing is going to be more traditional. You just have to extract all the data from a video file instead of your individual images.
Yeah. It becomes a real data problem as soon as you capture 3,000 images with Nina, and then you have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I crop it down. I shoot in SharpCap actually, just because it's so huge, isn't it? But I've got a better computer now. It took me like 2 days to go through. I think I had 3,000 subs. And you do it, don't you? And you set it off overnight, and then you wake up in the morning, and then oh bollocks! I didn't press that button. Here we go again. Got to redo it. Yeah.
I think one thing to also keep in mind is I think bias calibration is going to be very important because like with planetary, you can kind of ignore it because the signal's so high, but we don't have that luxury because our SNRs are so low. So when you do an ROI, I think you still need to make sure it gets bias calibrated, and you can do it as long as you're just careful to ROI your master bias to match the SIN region.
Yeah, I'd found actually that I used a bad pixel map and dithering. I did initially try using bias and actually darks as well. And flats, and I just felt like I felt like it was losing some signal, but it's certainly something to look at. I don't know how useful darks are, to be honest. They're almost exactly the same as the bias frames that I took. Anyway, all right. Anyone else?
I did have a question. A question around the Lucky Imaging, whether if we just collected luminance data to give you the detail, the sort of the thin paintbrush stuff, would that be enough to give you enough detail? It's like, are we sort of, and then obviously reduce how much processing time we've got? Are we set in having to capture HA, O3, etc.? Or would luminance just give us enough to get the detail, and then we could get sort of lower resolution from O3, HA, and RGB basically?
I mean, yes is my answer. I think you're right. I think well, there's a couple of little caveats, but yeah, I mean, the sharpness can be luminance effectively, I think.
Yeah.
We certainly don't need it for the colour. And yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I don't know what other folks think. The little caveat is actually that I'm not entirely convinced that a straight luminance channel is going to be the sharpest thing. A little bit of me thinks that maybe cutting out the high frequency, certainly the UV, but maybe even the blue, maybe, you know, might actually end up getting us a sharper image. Anyway, I don't know what other people think. Please let me know.
I agree. I think that they're going through the process of doing it and capturing Lucky Imaging with, you know, like 100 gigabytes. It's such an arduous process. You really want to make it count. So I think luminance makes sense as a first target.
Yeah, that will be our sharp bits. And it's, I mean, when we process stuff, we're forever using slightly fuzzy color data and putting it on top of lovely sharp luminance data, aren't we? And it works just fine. So, yeah. Alrighty, well, I'm going to wrap things up. Apology for my computer dying, and also for me not being very well organised today. It will be better next week. I will email that chap who wrote Autostacker and see if he's available. And also I'll try and get in touch with Gerd Newman Jr. as well. I don't know if anyone happens to know him, give me a shout. He was doing infrared imaging, Lucky Imaging. My website, if people look at it, there are going to be a ton of typos and links that don't work all over it. Please could you be kind enough to let me know if you come across these things, and also try and be gentle, because I spent all week working on it. It's taken ages, and yeah, so I know there's loads of things wrong, and I just don't want there to be anything wrong, but there will be loads of things that are wrong with it. That would be awesome. And yeah, thanks very much, everyone. I think we're going to call it a night. So, and a last chance to speak out or forever hold your peace. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good week.